tell her, alert, your son's temperature is really high and it's critically high. This was the idea, and it was the first time I felt like, okay, this is an invention that can help real humans. It's called human-centered design thinking. We had to pitch it, and we won like the second prize in the hackathon. And beyond that, I decided to proceed with my journey in physics at university. But as I went inside, I again hated the educational system. And I felt like this is not my place. And I had a situation where every single now and time I see a problem around me in the real world, I had to think about what is the root problem of this like problem that we are seeing and how can we solve it. And here also I was invited to the International Youth Day by the United Nations, and it was a problem about what is the cause of inequality in Lebanon and how to solve it. And the first question that came to my mind is, what are the symptoms of inequality in Lebanon? And I had to ask every single person in the room, how do you see inequality in your everyday life? And their answer was, طائفية, which is sectarianism. And the second answer was, all the jobs are centered in the city. There's nothing in the rural villages. Now, wasn't able to link the two things at first. And I thought, okay, if we take sectarianism itself, what would cause it? The answer was, okay, it's lack of empathy. People do not put themselves in each other's shoes. So maybe the best way to start eliminating the sectarianism is to make them understand the other and live at their home. So how can I make money out of it? Or how can I help people in the rural villages make money out of it? And it happened that the idea is, why not the families in rural areas host people from diverse backgrounds? For example, a person from Baalbek can live in a family's home in Shuf. The family will get money, the person will enjoy the tourism and explore the culture, and by that, we have a sustainable business model, a sustainable business that can do a lot of impact indirectly. And when I actually decided to pitch this to the team, nobody liked it. They said, this is idiot. No one's gonna live at someone else's home. So I was again disappointed. I went out and I talked to Dr. Mona Aitani, which is our mentor. And she said, no, I love the idea. Why not try to explore the market and come to the hackathon that we are doing, which is Towards an Equitable World. I was like, yes, okay, finally, I'm going to do it. I went in the hackathon and worked on it, created the business model, and we ended up winning the first prize. And I went back home and thought that really change can be made. And I finally felt that this is where I belong. This is what the place that I felt like I can do it and I can do new things and I can add extra stuff to the table. So I then joined the Youth Leadership Program with the United Nations. And after it, they asked me to start mentoring entrepreneurship. And there, everyone started saying, and after having also a financial crisis, my parents couldn't afford my university. So I had to gap a semester. As a physics major, mentoring entrepreneurship, and I felt like I'm so concerned of the real life, even though I loved physics and math a lot, but I felt like there's a lot of impact that I had to do to my society and to the people that I love. So I started to feel like physics is no more relevant for me. And here I decided that I shall join OSP. But before that, in my gap semester, I joined the MIT Lebanon Challenge, and we won the first prize with Ahla wa Sahla, which is the same as Khibz Milh, but changed the name. And once we were about to start with the accelerator and start this business, the explosion happened and everything stopped. And at the moment of I was very depressed, and everyone was very depressed, and they don't have their homes. And I thought, what can I do under the name of Ahla Sahla, because people will trust it more that I have an initiative, so that I can help people. And I decided I want to make people host each other to show that there's no sectarianism in Lebanon, and at the same time get the homeless people to live at other people's homes. So I started connecting the people who lost their homes to the families in villages, to the families outside Beirut. After that, we created a campaign where we bring food and meals from different areas of Lebanon to Beirut. And this was like a reflection of the Lebanon that I wanted to see. The Lebanon that is united, that we had no sectarianism, that people actually are humans deep inside, but sometimes there are external factors that makes them fear each other. Beyond that point, I decided I wanted to proceed in my education at OSB, which is the business school at the American University of Beirut. I didn't regret the physics journey that I went through. All my mathematics and all the diverse experience, I brought it again to the table, and I started to try to use it to think differently one more time. Now, every single time I saw a competition, I wanted to join it. And I wanted to challenge myself to come up with something new. Recently, I joined the Artificial Intelligence for Accessibility Hackathon with iPark at AUB as well. And it was about coming up with an idea to make the world more accessible for people with disabilities. And before coming up with the idea of, I don't know, prosthetic arm or something that translates sign language, I wanted to ask people with disabilities about their real pain, the real question that they ask themselves before going out. It turned out that they all answered with the same question: is this place accessible to us? And here, Wheelie Wheel, which is my new startup, came to existence, which is a map that ranks places from anti-wheelie to super wheelie. Anti-wheelie being not accessible, and super wheelie being very accessible. It looks very simple, but for people with disabilities to have a map that can tell them every second where they can go, what places are accessible, it was really needed. And for the businesses as well, for them to like, we help them in a sense create value through becoming more accessible. And we started marketing and like incentivizing business owners that actually embrace their responsibility towards people with disabilities to make themselves more accessible. So this was the idea, and we decided Hik to join, and it won again the first prize, luckily. Not lucky, like, it started like the practice of the years of thinking and seeing problems and trying to adopt this simple tool that everybody can use, started to show results. And yeah, so now we are on this journey. And again, I joined another one for corruption. And every time I really tried to think about the deepest problems, the core of the problem, what causes this? That's like a glimpse of everything that like happened in my journey. But I wanted to say something at the end, that really sometimes life seems so hard and there are a lot of challenges, but it is really us to think about how to solve these challenges, how to improve, and how to lead change. And as Stephen Hawking, my favorite scientist, ever said, no matter how hard life may seem, there's always one thing that you can do and succeed at. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karen. Yani, your speech, your experience alone is awesome. The effect that you had, yani, after the explosion came in with your startup I really loved it. I couldn't help myself but شو اسمه إلا إنه to text شو اسمه send a message say awesome بالchat. Thank you very much for sharing.
Yeah, and also I want to know that I love the passion in her eyes. You can see it, just see it, how much she's passionate about this. She's also very excited now. To all the youth here, to the students here. So basically, if you have any questions to Karen, please do ask her right now. This is your opportunity to like get her experience, to learn from her.
Maybe I can start. Thank you, Karen, for sharing your journey. And I know, because I am a bit closer, to you maybe than the rest of us in the meeting, that it wasn't like, a very smooth one. You mentioned some struggles, but you didn't talk about struggles in the entrepreneurial journey itself, the ups and downs, the disappointments. When do you feel that, this is really working and I'm going to keep doing it until the end? Or when do you see or feel that, no, this is not working and something needs to be deeply changed, or I will just put this, to death right now? So, this is a normal part of entrepreneurship. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, definitely. So you should always remember the purpose of why you started. And as long as the need exists in the market and people want it, as long as you always have to try and change the way of doing things. Sometimes if one strategy does not work, you can always turn around it and try like a new strategy. But if you say when to give up on an idea and when to keep going, it's definitely the sustainability, whether it's wanted or not. So, for example, in Ahla wa Sahla, I faced a lot of problems. First of all, when COVID started, people didn't want to have people at their homes. So we had to shift. We made a few events like going on camping, because the camps are more of, you can keep it disposed for a few days. We went to the museum, we did such stuff. So sometimes you need to pivot. Other times, no, you would say this is not the time for this idea. I'll postpone it and I'll find the right time to do it.
Nice. So Hadi Sharafuddin, please, if you have any questions, raise your hand.
I wanted to ask, how did the people, the homeowners react when if they can take in homeless people?
Hadi, you're cutting off a little bit. Did you hear his question, Karen?
No.
I was
How did
asking.
people respond to asking them to take in the people who lost their homes in the explosion? What was like the reaction?
Exactly.
Okay, that's a very good question. I did not call random people and tell them, hello, please, can you take those homeless people? This did not happen. What we did is that we sent a message to every single person I know on my Instagrams, whatever channel I had, to the Lebanese people, and told them there are these homeless people and they need a home. So I sent two different messages. If you lost your home and you need a home, please reach out to me. If you have a home and want to embrace people who lost their homes, please contact me as well.
Okay, that's okay. Emma, please go ahead.
Yes, Karen knows how much of a fan I am of her. She's truly amazing. And so I just have a question that is really kind of, I wouldn't say bothering me, but something that I have been struggling with as well, which is you have made or come up with so many successful ideas. Don't you think sometimes just I really want to focus on only one and stop just going forward? Because in life we have different problems, and just having that mindset, we always want to solve all of these problems and we come up with 1,000 ideas. So do you think one time I just want to focus on one idea because I have 24 hours in my day, or you're like, no, I'm going to continue solving as many problems as I can?
Definitely, and it's a very, very good question. It's one of my pains and strengths as well. Because of the so many ideas that I come up with, and recently also I didn't mention everything, but recently also I came up with an equation for a blockchain algorithm, and the professor said, "Oh my God, I never saw this in the blockchain world." So every time I come up with a new idea, but the thing is, I am still I'm still 21 years old and I'm still exploring every single industry. And wherever I find opportunity or potential, I would want to step in. And I'm still taking all the risks that I can. But right now, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't willing to commit to this one single idea. Like now, for example, Wheelie Wheel, yes, I am very committed and we are working on it and we think this is the right time to start it. But sometimes you have to pause few things and then focus on others. Sometimes you would want to step in and explore something else. But at the end of the day, you know that there's a journey and there's an end that you will reach to. Like in the end of your life, there's a certain impact that you have vision for, but it might take like more time than you assume.
Thank
But
you.
thank you, Amnon, for
Please, Michelle, go ahead.
Hi. When you were at your lowest and nobody was listening to you except Mona, what kept you going? I mean, how did you not give up on your ideas and what you wanted to do?
Yes, thank you for your question. So when Dr. Mona, which back then I was like very inspired by her. When I told her the idea and she said this is nice, it gave me a very big push. And actually I was يعني, when I was in school, I was a bit living in a bubble and I didn't care at all about humanity, about human beings. I only cared about pure science. I only cared about satisfying my curiosity. But when I stepped out of this zone and I thought like the world has so much to offer and I want to explore every single thing and it's okay to be open to everything, I didn't really mind failure and I wanted to throw myself and take the risk of everything. I actually have a page called Karen Falls because I fall a lot. And I always like to take the risk. So yeah, that's what keeps me going. It's not the fear. Yeah, I don't fear failure in a sense.
Oh,
Do you have any regrets?
Not really, because sometimes I thought to myself, I wasted a year and a half of physics while now I'm studying business. But when I remember, like even in business, like I'm able to come up with equations that can help in the business world. Like this is what mattered to me. So every day we have a new experience. There's no like, you have to graduate your school at the age of 18 and then you have to have 3 years of masalan business or whatever, and then you graduate and then you start your job. There's no really a limit because in life sometimes you accelerate and you have this very big like success and sometimes you decide to slow down, but it's all a journey and you learn from both. So I don't think I regret what I did because I appreciate where I am at this level.
Thank you.
Welcome, Michelle.
Makram, go ahead. Makram Fadl. Oh, okay. So, okay, no problem. Makram, until you solve it, Yumna, please go ahead.
Hi, can you say again what's the name of your startup?
Yes, one of them is Wheelie Wheel. And the
Okay,
other is called Ahla wa Sahla.
thank you.
Most welcome, Yumna.
Okay, so Makram will be joining us again. Okay, so if anybody, okay, here he is, Makram. Anyone has any more questions? Okay, go ahead, Makram, now.
Just wanted to ask Karen, knowing that you're a student at AUB still, how are you finding the time to run a couple of businesses while focusing on your studies at the university?
Yes, exactly. So sometimes you sacrifice one thing for the other. I am a very active person and I do a lot of things other than university. Technically what helps me is that like I don't really put all my effort into the educational system, to be honest, and I don't aim to be the A+ student. Some people do have this goal, which is so much okay. But as a person, I never wanted to be the A+ student. I wanted to be a very average student in my studies, but I also wanted to be joining a lot of initiatives and learning about real life at the same time. So right now, for example, I'm doing research and a literature review on people with disabilities, which is part of helping me in terms of Wheelie Wheel and my mission towards a more accessible world. And at the same time, I'm part with the United Nations for anti-corruption, to fight corruption in Lebanon. And I'm running Wheelie Wheel, and I'm trying to push myself into these competitions, etc. I'm trying to find my balance as much as I can, but the way I personally perceive the world is you're like كيف النهر انه قد ما بتفتح له مجال حتمد المي عليه. I always throw everything on myself, and it turns out I manage to do it. Like sometimes it fails, sometimes it هيدا, but I often tend to abide by the deadlines and stuff. But it's something very challenging, actually.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Oh, now go ahead, Mark Nawar.
Yes, just one question. How do you know that your idea or solution is going to happen and help people? How do you assume that that's gonna be successful?
Yes, very good question. You don't assume that. You try, and then if it doesn't work, you have to change either the way or understand what's the exact need that happens. But no one would know if the idea will be successful or not. Like it might fail miserably. But it's part of the journey again. So
Again, when you have an idea, an entrepreneurial idea, it would have an effect on society, and you would come up with it because there's a need for it in society. So for example, when you found out that people needed houses and you already had Ahla wa Sahla, you thought of a way of how to use that. And for Wheelie Wheel, you already knew that there is a need for people with disability in society. So basically, Mark, when you use design thinking throughout the process, you'll find the best problem to tackle. And through market research, you'll know how to aim at what you want. And basically, when you do that, you'd be actually working on something that people in society actually need, and your idea, through refinement, because it's an iterative process, it would have an effect. So at some point, you'd be just improving and improving and improving at a point where you find something that is ideal for people.
But my main question is, how do you know that this idea, like this general idea, without developing or without like really going into deep in this solution, is going to help? Like maybe you have an option A and an option B. The option B is way more effective, but we choose option A and decide to go deeper. So how do you know that this option is going to happen, because it's going to help before going really into it? Like,
yes,
there's a sign or not?
Yes, I understand your question much better. So usually what's challenging at the point of testing what you have already proposed as a solution is creating what is called a minimal viable product. The minimal viable product is a product that you don't invest a lot of money to do it or a lot of time. It just like gives the main functions of the product or service that you do. So you go there and you test it, and then you see the results. And then upon that, you start to create your decision, whether you want to change, whether it's good, whether it's good, but we have to do 1, 2, 3. So simple prototype. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. You have to get your hands dirty. Mark, you have to try. When it fails, you try again in another perspective, point of view, and you see how it goes.
And yeah, this is why an entrepreneurship failure is a very important aspect, because it helps you learn the right way. Like your question was a very good question. Like, which one should I choose? Well, you have to try. You have to research. You have to learn along the way. This is entrepreneurship in general. It's an adventure. You're taking a huge risk. You know, like entrepreneurship and risk comes hand in hand. So this is what you have to do. You have to venture. You have to like get your hand dirty, as Adnan said. I hope we answered your question.
But also we have like, yes, this answer, but we have as well like a, let's say a X or team that's very expensive to develop, like the newest technology. How do we like limit risk and like save our capital? Like we know not everybody have the financial resources to develop everything. So how do we like prevent or like put a like safe capital apart to just develop and help people? Like I don't know if you really understand my question, but it's really based on new technology and a capital that's expensive. Though I don't I don't want to lose. That's all.
At some point, you would face, you have to lose sometimes. Mark, it's not about just winning all the time. If you're thinking about capital, as we mentioned before, you have to test, you have to prototype, you have to have a minimal viable product. So you don't have to put in a lot of money or resources in the thing that you are trying to develop. Because at the end, you're not trying to get the full product. You're just trying to see which idea or prototype is the best. Yes, go ahead, Dr. Mona.
Dr. Mona, please.
Yes.
Give an
Think that-
example from Karen, since she's, the guest here, and Karen, you can add to that. So when Karen came up with the idea of Ahla wa Sahla or Khubz wa Milah before that, she pitched it as the Airbnb for rural tourism in Lebanon. And in order to develop Airbnb, you need a lot of money, developers, etc. And she didn't have that at the time. At one point, she had a team member who knew some coding, and then after a while, he left. So she was stuck with, okay, how can I, again, prove that this works without developing it entirely? And she actually prototyped it and tested it in different ways. So you do not always need to prototype the actual solution. So if I'm trying to build another version of Airbnb, I do not necessarily need to build another version of Airbnb. Can you tell us, Karen, how did you test, for example, Ahla wa Sahla without having a fully functional, website with Airbnb functionality?
Yes, definitely. So we had like as Dr. Mona mentioned, and we had like a prototype and how it works, or a very minimal design of how the website will look like, so that we later on develop it. But how it happened is actually word of mouth, like technically. Yani, we tested it as from human experiences more than a real website. And when we had our events, we actually promoted it on Instagram, through friends, through the customers that we think, potential customers that might love such events.
Exactly. So to just like recap on this, so instead of creating a fully functional website, Karen was testing the same functionality using other platforms, such as WhatsApp, Instagram, maybe Facebook groups. So again, you always need to think, what's my aim? My aim is to connect people who would like to explore new places, new villages in Lebanon, have this local experience, with people who are willing to, rent out their house for the weekend, etc. So can this only work with an Airbnb-like website? No, it can work over, WhatsApp. I have, two people, I connect them together and tell them, call him, or maybe over a Facebook group. So there are always easier or simpler ways to prototype your solution and make sure whether it works or not. You can also go do interviews, check how many people are willing to rent their houses or part of their houses during a weekend or in the summer. Also ask about the demand of how many people are willing to go and do this local tourism. So there are many ways to check whether the problem is real, the need is real, the appetite is there before you build a fully functional product. And this is what the lean startup methodology tells you. You shouldn't go full throttle and build the entire product before you test. And this is why a lot of startups have failed in the past. And this is what you should avoid doing now with all the experiences that we already have.
Yes, please go
Okay,
ahead.
thank you.
And Mark, I hope we answered your questions. Are you still like a little bit afraid, or did you?
No, it's okay. Thank you.
Mark, I would also like to tell you, مثلا, Wheelie Wheel, for example, and you don't always have to put all the features. Like, for example, Wheelie Wheel, we use artificial intelligence to rank places. We have a lot of nice features, but like at the beginning, like we're not gonna start with this big. We need a bit of time to collect the data we need sometimes, to find the collaborators, people who can offer us the data. تيخففوا لنا وقت. So you pick the essential features and you don't invest a lot at first. And شوي شوي, it starts to become sustainable and more clear of the need.
Yes, please go ahead, Hadi.
I wanted to ask Karen, the entrepreneurship, it depends on, like, I understood that it depends a lot on social interactions and talking to people, but I am not very good at it. And so I wanted to wonder, is it only talking to people mostly, or?
Okay, so it's a very good question. None of us is good at everything. We can always develop skills that we actually want, because أنا كمان when I was younger, I was so afraid like of مثلا presenting, because my school didn't like give me a lot of experience in presenting. So I had to go through some shocks in my life and like anxiety on stage or whatever. But then after a time, I started like to develop this skill. And also, you can always have some the team who can do this for you. Yani you can offer your skills, someone else, you should complement like your skills. So this is my advice to you, but you have to find like the real team members where you all like complement each other.
Okay, thank you.
And we have Emma again. Go ahead, Emma.
Yes, I had a question popping up in my head. With all the competitions you were part of, how did you protect intellectual property for your idea?
I did not.
Would you advise it to do anything to protect it?
No, actually, because I think there are cases where yes, this is needed, but in most cases, I think it's about like you willing to make it come true. I don't think everyone will have the passion to develop your idea that you have. So this is what made me a bit like feel safe. But yeah, sometimes the idea doesn't matter at all. Like a lot of ideas are becoming very similar to each other. Unless in some cases, as I mentioned, where you come up with something completely different, maybe you need to do something here.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah,
But even big companies, like sometimes بيقلدوا بعضهم, they do similar stuff. So the competition is there. You need a good strategy sometimes, a better strategy than your competitors.
We
Yes,
also
that
get
is
this
very
question.
useful.
We also get this question a lot about what if somebody copied my idea? Don't be afraid of it. Like Dr. Muna said, it's all about the execution. It's about who will actually execute the idea at the end. Okay, so he won the competition after he stole your idea. Congrats. So what? Who's going to implement the idea after that? That's the real question. If you're passionate about it, don't be afraid. Just go there. It doesn't matter who copies your idea. It's all about execution in the end.
Thank you so much for this. That helped a lot.
Yeah. So now, if anybody don't have any more questions for Karen, we're gonna move to Mr. Timothy.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Karen. Timothy, are you in the room?
Yeah.
Okay, so I believe that Timothy couldn't join us for some reason. It's fine, we can maybe invite him to some other session. I just wanted to comment on Emma's question. This is really important, especially at the beginning, you know, of your entrepreneurial journey. You really should not be afraid of talking openly about your ideas. And mind you, like even if you, as Karen mentioned, maybe you can have this breakthrough blockchain implementation, even if she just told us about it, right? But like we don't know exactly what this is, so still we cannot copy it. So even if you have like a technically new product, usually when you are pitching or talking to people about it, you will not like open your design and tell them exactly how it works. So no one wants to get into this level of detail, this is where the IP, should be protected at the very, detailed level of something which is new. But like, for example, these ideas, like I want to create, a platform that does this and that, or I want to create an application that connects A and X together. Like, there's nothing really to protect there. Like, even if you, like even if you didn't talk about it, someone else might be doing something very similar. So this is something I learned with experience. We live in one world. We are influenced by very similar factors and circumstances. And if someone is thinking a bit like you, I mean, honestly, I don't think they've copied you, but it's just life. Like, I'm sure you've seen it. Like, a lot of times we think, oh, what if we had this great feature in this like amazing app? And a few months later, they'll do it. So did they like, read your mind? Did they steal your ideas? No, not really. But it's just humanity, and like, based on need and based on everything around us, we feel that this is something that people would appreciate. So unless you pitch and you talk to people, your idea will not reach anywhere. So this is at the baseline. If I don't talk about my idea will stay where it is. It will not improve. It will not develop. I will not be able to again test it and validate it. And I can only do that when I talk to different people about it, including definitely and most importantly, potential customers, potential partners, and people who are in the ecosystem of entrepreneurship. They can advise me, tell me about certain mistakes other people have done, maybe tell me, look at this other competitor, they're doing something similar, go see what they're doing, and try to see what's different about you. So unless you do talk about it, it will really stay where it is, and it will not improve. So that's my advice on that.
Thank you. That was beneficial. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mona. So now we're gonna move into the Mentimeter. I hope you're all ready right now. So I'm gonna share my screen.
So just before that, Wasim, maybe again, we need to remind them about the platform and what they're supposed to be doing on the platform, in addition to these live sessions that we're holding every other week.
Okay, so again, I'm going to share my screen right now. So what you have to do other than the live sessions, basically you have to go to the platform www.shabablab.com. I'm going to send the link here. .com. So again, I'm going to explain it again. This is like a hybrid, okay? This is a hybrid. It's a combination of live sessions on Google Meet, what we're doing right now, and an online course. All right? So what you do, we sent you an email a couple of weeks ago, 1 week ago approximately. This email contains your credentials, basically your email and password to log in to shabablab.com. So you use them and you log in. Now, after you log in, you'll be redirected to the main page. And you'll find here the courses tab. Okay, so basically you click on it. And what you have to do is the entrepreneurship program course. You can see it right here. It's called Entrepreneurship Club. And you press on it. Very simple. We also sent you the schedule for all the deadlines. You have a couple of submissions to do, like, for example, the problem definition, which I'm going to talk about in a bit. And you also have like to submit a solution later on with your team. You have to, for example, also create a prototype, let's say. Like that's if you want to create a prototype right now. And in the end, you have to pitch your idea. You have to submit a video pitch for us. So this is like basically it. Okay. So this is
can
the
just
course.
scroll down, Wasim, please, to show them. Okay. So
Yeah.
in each of these lessons, guys, you have a video. And this is, again, eClub is not our idea. It's not the idea of Shabab Lab, but it has its own organizers, and they are subcontracting us, like Riyada and Shabab Lab, to run the program, basically. So this was their outline. This was their idea of what you need as participants in the entrepreneurship club to be able to create a business solution at the end of it. So the very first one was a video, 12-minute video talking about different types of entrepreneurship. Then the second one is talking about design thinking, and we expect you to watch and complete these lessons every, before every session. So last time maybe you had very little time to go over the first lesson, but now, for example, today we expect you to have already completed the intro to design thinking, which is again only a 12-minute video. So these are very short videos that are there, to help you understand the concepts, and sometimes you have different supplementary material. And these live sessions are there to help you understand further the concept, see if you have questions, see if you are not sure how to apply what you are looking at on the platform. So again, the whole idea of these live sessions is not to do the explanation and to go over the concepts, but just to remind you about them, make sure you've understood them, and take your questions, make sure you can apply them. So this is really important for you to understand.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mona Aitani. Now I'm going to explain to you a little bit about the submission that you have to submit to us in the intro to design thinking lesson. So basically what you have to do is you scroll down a little bit, you watch the video to understand more about design thinking, what it is, all the steps in design thinking. Now under the lesson, you'll find this. So we ask you to download your submission template from the link below. So you click on it. It will open up a link. Now I'm going to share my screen again so you can see what's happening. Okay. Stop presenting. And so, okay. Like this is the submission. This is the template of the submission. So you have to identify a problem you want to solve and write it in a similar style that is identical to the examples down below. So who's the person, I don't know your target that struggles, need a way to do something, because why? What is preventing them from doing what they want to do? So let's take an example. So here, high schoolers in Lebanon. I identified my target. For example, high schoolers, they are like 14 to 18. I identified an age range. They struggle, need a way to find the right major. Like this is their problem. They are like finding a difficulty to identify the right major because universities provide outdated career information that does not always match workplace needs. So what we did here is we went and talked about the root problem, the reason and the root problem, why this is happening. Okay, so again, who struggle, need a way to do what, because why. So to give you like a cool example, we're gonna talk more about like anime fans in my city. You can specify in which city. Struggle, need a way to affordably personalize their favorite anime merchandise. And this is, by the way, happening in my city where I live. Like this problem is happening. Some people are facing this problem because online services are expensive and take a long time. So this is another problem. I'll give you one more example. So again, electronics users in specific areas, we can like specify the area if you want, struggle, need a way to donate their phones, laptops for reuse or recycling because they are unsure how to protect their private information, especially in devices that have stopped working. So again, I'm going to explain it a little bit. You have to specify in a target that you want to work on. For example, let's say anime fans, swimmers in a certain area, people from a certain age. You can also say, for example, teenagers, let's say, they struggle, need a way. What's the problem? You're going to talk here about the problem. To donate their phones, for example, let's say, they cannot donate their phones. They cannot, for example, afford to buy something specific. Okay? Your problem, you can choose anything you want. Like, let your imagination run wild, but make sure it's a real problem that you can solve. Because they are unsure how to protect their private information. So you specify the reason, the root cause behind this problem. Yes, Dr. Mona?
So Wasim, if you can go back to the template slide number 2, and maybe we can take Anghami as an example, and if someone can volunteer from the participants, so tell us, how would Anghami phrase this problem when they first started, right? So now they, of course, have a lot of offerings. But how would have Anghami, and I mean, I'm a personal fan and follower of Eli Habib, the co-founder. I know this very well because I've heard it from him like a million times. But let's try to do it together. So what would that look like for Anghami?
So guys, again, we're taking Anghami as an example.
Yes, we have Hadi. Please, Hadi, go ahead.
We need to find a problem for Anghami to solve it.
No, okay, so we're taking Anghami as an example. So let's assume you're gonna found Anghami, okay? You're gonna become the next founder. You're gonna become the founder of Anghami. How would you like identify the problem that Anghami is solving?
And in case there's anyone that does not know what Anghami is, but it's
We
very
have-
famous, I know. It's the application for music streaming, just in case. وصار في عنده كمان podcasts. So yeah,
Go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Bakram.
First, we have to know what kind of company is Anghami to be able to know what problem they are solving. Then we have to look at what services they are providing. Excuse me.
So you are the founder here. No, you are Eli
I
Habib
am
or
okay.
Adi Maroon,
Yes.
and you want to start Anghami. You have this great idea. Let's start something in the Arab world. But if you want to tell people what problem you're trying to solve, you need to phrase it in this template. So fill in the blanks, right? So you are the co-founder of Anghami. You need to fill in the blanks and tell us how this problem statement would look like.
Go ahead, Emma.
Okay, so I would say that music lovers struggle or need a way to listen to music frequently without paying a lot of money, because obviously they want to be entertained. So that could be one part. And I don't know what they used to do before. I think that it was buying CDs. هلا مني هالقد كبيرة بالعمر تعال. No, they used to buy CDs, I guess, which was expensive. So that is why Anghami was kind of successful.
So you got the first two parts right, but not the why. Okay, maybe let's see Hadi also. He has his hand raised.
Music lovers struggle to listen to music using a simple device that they can use anywhere and anytime, and that has good quality sound without being illegal. And what's preventing them from doing that most music streaming apps are expensive to subscribe to.
Okay, great. So yeah, I think this is a generational difference. So yes, when they started, like streaming apps weren't that popular, I would say, especially a lot of them weren't even available here in the region. And yes, Emma, they used to either you buy a TD, which is very expensive, or you download it illegally, right? So you pirate the song, you download it as MP3 using a lot of different ways, but it's illegal. So they didn't have much options to do this affordably and legally. So this was Anghami's solution. So music lovers, as you mentioned, struggle or need a way to listen to the music they like affordably. This is the original solution. Later on, it was yes, anytime, anywhere, and so on. Why? Because the available music services are very expensive. Okay. because due to licenses, etc. So again, it was very particular to the Arab world. It was very particular that there weren't anyway other streaming apps that we could use in the Arab world, and this was their problem. Of course, with time it could be developed, enhanced, changed, right? So everything you said now makes a lot of sense, of course. But we should always start from a place. And because Anghami were doing this very early on, they were first movers in the region. They now could, they could get successful. Now they have this edge over the other international music streaming apps as well. And they were able to create these relationships with, the artists, the singers, the music production organizations, etc. So also timing was really important for them, and this is what made them successful too.
And this also reminds me of something Emma said, and what you, Dr. Mana, just mentioned. يعني Anghami had كمان competitors that I remember were called Deezer. If anybody knows about them. They had a similar view. They were working on the similar things, but at the end, Anghami, because they pushed through and they believed basically in what they were doing, they succeeded. Now, when you ever say Anghami or Deezer, you would know Anghami, you wouldn't know the other app.
Deezer came into the market later on, and again, Anghami, as I mentioned, they were the first in the region to start tackling the Arabic music, and I mean, I'm guys older than all of you. I remember these stuff. So this is why, for example, in Arab Idol, all of these big shows, they also got this exclusivity. Like, someone would, one of the contestants would be singing live on stage, and directly after the show is over, you can listen again for it on Anghami. So they were very smart in their in their approach, and they were very unique again to the Arab world, basically.
Yes, Mark, go ahead.
Can you also say that Anghami is the first music platform to allow their user to play Arab music, like Spotify and Deezer were only playing French and Spanish and English music. Like Anghami was the first to put and advance the Arabic music.
Yes, exactly. That was value proposition, right? This is something we'll look at later on in the future lessons. So you should always have a unique value proposition. So they weren't the first music streaming app in the world. Spotify was already very big, in Europe and in other places. They were not the first ones to do this in the world. They were redoing what some other apps have done in other places, but they redid it with contextualization in mind. So again, they wanted to build something for the Arab world. So their edge was, yes, the Arabic music. As I mentioned, the famous Arab artists, Nancy Ajram and Wael Kouri, and I don't know what, the Arab Idol and the Arabs Got Talent, and I forgot all the these shows that people for a very long time were obsessed with, right? Before Netflix and before all of these things came around. So they contextualized their offering to the needs of the market. And although, like, if you listen to any Habib's pitch, I mean, I brought him several times to AUB, also to the launching event of Shabab Lab. It wasn't a smooth journey. It was full of ups and downs. A lot of time they didn't have the right team. They didn't have the right technical team, because there's a lot of technology there, a lot of artificial intelligence. But they kept pushing, kept struggling, kept trying. And again, I think their vision and their approach was the right one in the region. So this is why they are now, successful.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Mana. If anyone has any more question about the submission, please do tell us. Now, I'm going to show you. Okay, Yumna, please go ask. Go ahead.
Just I've already submitted my idea, but I didn't know we had to do it in groups. So is there a way that I can unhand the assignment?
Don't worry about it. You can submit again, no problem. Okay, we opened the door for you to submit again, so don't worry about it. Okay.
Okay, so now I can start thinking with my group instead.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Yes, Michelle.
We have to tell you beforehand what the group is.
Yes, we're gonna send you a Google form we already sent you a Google form. I'm gonna send it again. Here it is. So if anyone here that is not yet part of our WhatsApp group, please first of all give us your phone number so we can add you to the WhatsApp group. And also in this Google form, you'll find like a tab where you have to fill out the names of your team members. Okay. Yes, Hadi.
How will we do it in a group? Because I don't know my team members and I don't know how to communicate with them. And
Okay, so first of all, we're gonna like collect all the names of the people who have groups and the name of the people who do not have group, and later on we can add you to groups. So don't worry about it. Now, when you work in groups, you all have to submit the same submissions. Of course, it's very obvious. Yes, Michelle.
If we have already submitted a name, can we add more people to our group and update you?
Yes, of course. And of course, if you want to change your problem later on, like work on a different problem, you can submit again, and we will take the latest one, the latest submission as the correct one.
And we have to give you one problem, or can we give more?
Amuna,
Can
yes.
give more, I think like this is the early, phase of the process. We don't want to limit you at this stage, so you can even submit individually the problem, but before you start submitting the idea or the solution, this is where you should really have a team in place, and you should all be agreeing on like one solution after, of course, you exhaust a lot of different solutions and think about them. It's fine if you want to submit this individually at this stage. It's fine if you want to submit more than one problem at this stage. It's not an issue. And again, if you have any questions, this is where like these live sessions are the right time and place to ask these questions. The facilitators will give you feedback on your submissions. However, they will not tell you like, a school teacher, no, don't do this, do that. Like this is your choice, guys. We're not here to tell you what to do. We're just here to tell you, maybe the root cause is not clear. You're not tackling the root cause. Your target market is not specific enough, but we're not telling you this is a good idea or it's a bad idea. We're not supposed to do that. So you have a lot of freedom, flexibility. I suggest that you submit these problems individually and then convene with your teams. So for those who have a team, you will convene with your team, say, this is what I thought of. Those who don't have teams, you will be grouped in teams. And then, of course, you can talk to your team and say, this is what I thought of. And then start brainstorming. Okay, which one do you want to go with? Maybe it's neither of what you've submitted. It could be a refined version of one of them, or maybe two of them combined together to create a new one. So yeah, there are no limits there.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Mana. Okay, so basically the deadline for the submission is on 18th of February. So you have until the 18th of February to submit it. Yes, Hamza?
Sorry, by mistake.
Oh, okay, no problem. Okay. So now we're gonna go over to the Menti. I'm gonna stop presenting. Share my tab. Though. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna copy the link. Go over to www.menti.com and use the code. So tell us so far in one word, how was your journey on the platform? We're gonna wait so that everybody joins. Please, again, Easy, interesting. Okay, I'm glad it's easy. Rich, interesting, constructive. And by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but we have a series on Shabab Lab. Shabab Lab /series. So in this series, you're gonna find one of the series called Keys to Success of Arab Social Entrepreneurs. Basically, you're gonna find lots of famous entrepreneurs like Omar Aitani and Samer Sfer talking about how they started working on their initiatives, their journeys. So it's very amazing. I really recommend you for you to watch it, to learn from them. Okay, constructive, great, motivating, amazing, fun. Okay, I love it. Okay, this is amazing. Now on to the second question. And just wait a little bit more until someone talks. Okay, no. So the second question, did you watch the video intro to design thinking? Yes or no, guys? So again, to those who did not join Mentimeter yet, here it is. Here's the code. Here's the code and here's the link. Okay, I'm glad most of you did because I spent the entire day yesterday talking to you, so you did. Okay. 27. Okay, I love it. Nice. 29, 30. Okay. People are still joining. Nice. Okay, everyone is on Monty now. On to the next question. So do you know what's design thinking? Now I'm assuming like 31 people watched the video, so they know what's design thinking. Okay, so everybody's saying yes, but I'm gonna say it anyways. So basically, design thinking is a process that was introduced by the founder of the design company IDEO. So there are like 5 steps in the design thinking process, which are basically empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. And now we're gonna cover a little bit about these steps in the next questions. And yeah, the design thinking process is used to like solve problems. Most of the times you use it to solve problems, but we're gonna see if we have other uses for it in the next questions. So now we're gonna start the real test. Testing the knowledge. So somebody just joined us. Please go to Menti if you just joined recently.
I put join the quiz, but I didn't put anything in the text place.
What? I didn't hear you.
There's a thing that is called the GOAT quiz.
Where is that?
I don't know what it is. It came up on the screen from the presentation.
Wait, so you weren't able to join because of that?
No, I joined. I answered the other questions, but the quiz, the test that you just said, I don't know where it is because the page went.
No, we're gonna start now. Okay, don't worry. We're gonna start now. Tell me if it works. Okay.
So you can always join again, like in the middle of it.
Design thinking is a thinking process, problem-solving process, or problem-finding and solution matching process. 2, 1. Time's up. And it's a problem finding and solution matching process, because remember, guys, one of the steps in design thinking is ideation. So you're coming up with a solution, and in addition, you're creating a prototype and you're testing this prototype. So it's the problem finding and solution matching process. So this is what design thinking is. Okay. Yes, it's a problem solving process. Yes, it's a thinking process also, but it's also a solution matching process. So on to the next question. Question 2 out of 8. I hope you guys are ready. Answer fast to get more points. What is empathy? Feeling sorry for the customer, putting yourself in the shoes of the customer, asking the potential users 100 questions. Let's see. Exactly, putting yourself in the shoes of the customer. Now, there's a difference between empathy and sympathy. Now, sympathy is, yes, feeling sorry for the other person, but empathy, it's like putting yourself in the shoes, as the answer here says. And when we tell you to empathize in the design thinking process, we tell you to go meet more people, interview with them, sit with them, go through the same problem that they are going through. So you always have like to understand what the actual users are going through, so you can actually develop the correct solution. Empathy is key to success for your product or solution. It's very important for you to like do this to yourself. Go through the same problem that the users are going through. Like, don't say like, hey, my friend is going through this problem, I'm gonna talk to him. No. Go meet other people who are going through this problem. Talk to them, sit with them, understand their feelings. This is what empathy is. And it's, by the way, it's one of the core values at Shabab Lab that we believe in. On to the next question now. Question 3 out of 8. The best way to do empathy is through interviews, surveys, or focus groups. Let's see. Exactly, it's interviews. Now, the problem with surveys that sometimes people can give you wrong answer. You will not sometimes you'll not be able to collect the real feelings behind the answers. So it's not the best way to do empathy. And in focus groups, sometimes if you gather, if you don't know what are focus groups, they are basically like a group interview. You can call it a group interview, where you gather a bunch of people together and you sit with them and you start asking them questions. Now, the problem with focus groups is sometimes one person will talk in behalf of the group. So you'll not be able to collect the real answers from them. And this is the problem with it. So the best way to do empathy is one-on-one interviews. You sit with one of the people who's facing the problem, you talk with him, then you go on to the next one. You do multiple interviews. Like focus groups are nice. You can collect lots of data from them and they are fast, but this is the problem with it. One person sometimes might represent the whole group. And with surveys, you will not be able to understand the feelings behind the answers. This is the problem with these two. Yes, Hadi, go ahead.
So focus groups, they're just not as precise as interviews to understand.
Exactly. Because imagine it right now. You're sitting with a group of people, you're asking them questions. Sometimes you'll find a person who's leading everything. He's answering on behalf of the group. Okay, and this is wrong. You want to understand how each one thinks, not who is he,
Yes.
Exactly. So interview are the most precise way for you to understand it, to do empathy. Question 4 out of 8. What does a define phase corresponding to? When we say define your customers, define your problem, or define your end users. It's define your problem. It's the second step in the design thinking process. So here in this step, you're defining your problem. What is the problem that that the customer, the end user is facing? So I want to understand this problem so I can work later on the third step, which is ideation. So here you want to define your problem. This is the define phase. Okay. Question 5. In ideate, I have to come up with as many ideas as possible. Start with my advisor's idea as solution. Keep iterating to find the right solution. Which one? Exactly. So in ideation, you don't have to keep iterating to find the right solution. It's wrong to iterate all the time. Like, hey, I'm gonna start with this solution, then I'm gonna move on to the next one. I'm gonna try all of them. No. It does not work this way. It's gonna waste a lot of your time. And start with my advisor's idea as a solution. No, don't start. Like, you have to start with your own idea. Don't count on anybody else to give you an idea. Like, it has to be yours. Otherwise, it will not have any meaning behind it. I mean, if someone like gave me an idea to work on, I will not love it, to be honest. I want to work on the idea that I came up with, not somebody else's. So in ideation, what you have to do is come up with as many ideas as possible. Even if they were like bad ideas, it's no problem at all. You can always like build up on your ideas. Like even like for us at Shabab Lab, sometimes when we sit together and we ideate, we don't say, hey, this is a bad idea. We take all the ideas that somebody spits out, because every idea can build to a good solution in the end. Okay, so I hope this is understood by everyone. Does anybody have so far any questions? Complete silence, okay. We're gonna move to the next question. This is very good, by the way. I'm very happy that everybody understood this. Question 6 out of 8. To prototype, I need to outsource development to a professional firm, use AUB labs to have a decent prototype, have a low resolution prototype, and validate. I hope you answered this right, because Karen talked about this. Have a low resolution prototype and validate. Even the speaker, Karen, right now, like a couple of like 30 minutes ago, talked about this. You don't start like with a professional device. You don't start with a professional solution. You start with a low resolution prototype. First of all, this is gonna save you money. You're gonna test it. It's gonna like take you less work to create this low resolution prototype. So you're gonna save time, resources, and you can actually start testing it. So it's the optimal way for you to work on your solution. Okay? So you don't outsource development to a professional firm, because it's gonna cost you a lot. I promise you. Like one time I was working on an initiative and I wanted like another firm to create the website for me. I told them like, hey, how much is it gonna cost me if you create this website for me? They told me like $30,000. So I was a little bit shocked. And then later on, I discovered that I could have like created this website on WordPress completely for free. So always like search for free ways and to create your solution, even if it was a low resolution, as long as it works and does what you want it to do, it's great. Okay.
And the tip for everyone, if you use your email that is related to your university, sometimes the applications such as WordPress or others, they give you a lot of discounts and other features that you can use, and you're still a student.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Adnan. Now on to the 7th question, I think. Yep. Testing happens on the ground with real people, the lab, or through surveys. on the ground with real people. Now remember, you're doing all of this to solve the problem for users, for people. Okay? So you don't do the testing in a lab because nobody, what are you testing it on? So let's say, for example, I created a website. I'm gonna take this example, a small website. Who's gonna visit my website in a lab? No one. Who's gonna visit like through surveys? Surveys are not gonna help me. So I test the application, the prototype, on the ground with real people, with the users that I'm solving the problem for. So remember, in empathy, the people that I'm empathizing with, I test this prototype with them. Yes, Hadi?
But for websites, through surveys is usually the way to connect with real people on the ground. Just like reviews on the Play Store, and they ask you what was your experience like this. It's a survey, but it's also with the real people on the ground. Yeah.
No, Hadi. Like you got it a little bit wrong, because like through what they mean here through surveys is that, like, okay, through surveys you're taking the feedback, but the actual testing, where does it happen? On the website. So it's happening on the real, like in the real life, not on through surveys. Okay.
Oh yes.
This is testing, the actual testing, like action. You got me?
For example, no one is using your website, right? So using it. You have to go and ask someone, can you please try this out and tell me how it works, you know? So surveys only work when you already have a good customer base. Like you already have people using it, right? But if you still have no one using it, and you want to make sure whether this is good or not, or how it could be improved, you need to show actual people, and this could be random. Like before COVID, this was how we did it. Like go to Starbucks and show someone, you know, I have this prototype. Can you just try to use it? And you just like record notes how they're using it, if it's you know, straightforward, if they knew to navigate their way through it, etc. So this is how we usually do testing. Again, maybe before you even publish, you know, your solution.
Yes, that's okay.
And it
Exactly.
takes guts to go and ask a person, a random stranger, can you please review this? At first you'll find it very hard, but with the second and third time you'll see that it goes with the flow. And Adi, it'll be great.
By the way, yeah, thank you, Adnan, for pointing this out. This is what we want you to do through this program. Not only like just, I talked to my friend who's facing this problem. We want you to actually go out, get out of your comfort zone and talk to actual people. Show actual people your product. Talk with real people who's facing this problem. Not your friends or family. Go beyond that. Try to go and talk with people that you don't know, complete strangers. Okay?
Okay.
So on to the last question. I'm gonna see who the winner is after that. Design thinking is a linear process. True or false?
What does linear mean?
I'm gonna explain it after that. Just give me like, I'm gonna see what's the answer will be. Okay, so linear, it means straightforward. Okay, and design thinking is not straightforward. So
Yes, I
as you
put
know right now, you have 5 steps in design thinking process, which are, again, empathy, define, ideate, testing, and prototype. So in the question is saying design thinking is a linear process. It means like you have to go through them and you cannot go back. No, it's wrong. Design thinking is iterative, meaning even if you were in the last phase, let's say testing, you can always go back to the defining the problem phase and changing the problem. Okay, it's very simple. It's iterative. You can always go back to previous steps and changing them. You don't have like to go straight forward. Hey, I've done it. I've done the design thinking process. I can't go back. I can't change anything. No, you can. You can always go back, change your solution. Heck, you can change your prototype anytime you want. Okay? So now to announce the results, see who the winner was. Wow. Okay, who won? Alex Basha, congrats.
Thank you.
Very close scores, so well done, guys.
Just like last time.
So it was only the difference was in the how fast you were.
Yeah. So again, to the people who not yet still like join our WhatsApp group, I'm gonna send the form here again, just as a reminder. And one more time, this like entire program is a hybrid. It's a bunch of live sessions on Google Meet and an online course on shabablab.com, like I showed you earlier. You go to shabablab.com, you'll find it in the courses. It's called the Entrepreneurship Club. And we also sent you the schedule by email. So you know the dates of all the live sessions. And don't worry, we'll also send you reminders. We also have the deadlines of also the submissions. As you can see in the schedule that we sent you, each one have deadlines. Yes, Hadi?
In between every meeting, we watch 2 videos, or like it depends.
I'm gonna tell you how it will go. For example, right now before this meeting, we asked you to watch the intro to design thinking, right?
Yes.
Yes. So for the next meeting, before the next meeting, which will be in 2 weeks, you have to watch social entrepreneurship before joining the meeting.
Only?
You can continue, by the way. There's no problem if you continue doing the other lessons. It would be great if you do the other lessons as well. But for the third meeting, yes, you have to be prepared and watch the third lesson.
Okay.
Okay,
Your
yes,
memory
Michi.
on
And
what
again,
the module that we
guys,
asked
you're
you.
expected to apply.
Dr. Mona, you were saying?
Yeah, I'm saying we are expecting you to apply. This is why you're part of the E-Club, to do a real entrepreneurial project. So you're not here just to learn.
Exactly.
You're here to do it.
Exactly.
Don't
It's not like
forget
a normal,
about
don't take it as a normal course like, hey, it's a Coursera course. No, it's way beyond that. We want you to actually apply it in the real world. Okay? Everything you learn there, go ahead and apply it. Yes, Michelle?
I have 2 questions.
Yeah,
First,
sure.
I handed my project, but I want to unhand it, and I don't know how. I tried, but there's
Yeah,
no.
don't worry. We're going to open up a way for you to submit again. It's already open, by the way. You can always submit again, no problem. And we'll take into consideration the latest one that you submitted. Okay, don't worry about it. We're going to
Okay.
delete the old one.
Okay, and I had another question.
Yeah, sure.
I forgot. We're gonna do a real project? No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what we expect from the way. We want you to really work
Okay.
in the real world, okay? Not just like, hey, I'm gonna make a project. It's a theory that might work or not. It's not a theory. We want you to
Yeah,
implement
just
it.
last year there was a competition, no?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a competition, and again, like if your project is more realistic than the other projects, you've already done this groundwork, you've already tested it, you have a prototype. This will definitely give you a very big advantage over the others. And I mean, we don't expect you guys to launch your product, or like if you're creating an app, to launch the app and it be available on, Google Store and App Store, etc. But of course, if you reach that level, it's amazing. This is definitely a big bonus, a big plus. But we expect you to do like the background work and fit the idea as if like you just need a few more months to actually launch it. You know what I mean? So it's not just
Yeah.
very conceptual based on your own assumptions and your own feelings. No, it's rooted with real data, with actual interviews, with surveys. You have a prototype. You've done your research. You've applied all the frameworks that we're talking about in the E-Club, and this will show when you pitch. It will show whether this is just a conceptual idea based on personal assumptions, or if it's a very viable, feasible idea rooted in real data and that addresses a real need in your world, in your environment, basically.
Exactly. Yes, Carl, go ahead.
Yes, if you want to be an entrepreneur, is it important to learn many languages or no?
Okay, this is an interesting question. So basically, yes, learning languages. لحظة, languages as in programming languages or languages as in normal
No,
language?
languages as you speak normally.
It depends on your needs, Carl. Okay, it all depends on your needs. Like, where are you working? For example, let's say you want to start your venture for example, let's say in France. So you have like to learn French. Okay, if you want to start like in another country, or for example, if your end users are from Spain, you have to learn how to talk Spanish. It depends. It all depends on your needs. Okay, but the one thing I'm sure of it, you have to be good at English. Like right now, English, let's face it, it's the universal language. So you have to be a little bit good at it, but every other language, like, it depends on your needs. Do you need it? Yes. Okay, learn it. Is it necessary for me to know this language? Learn it. But to me, like, I love learning new languages. It's very fascinating and important. It teaches you a lot of things about the culture of the language. I hope this answers your questions, Carl. Carl, are you with us?
I have a problem, an internet problem now.
Oh, okay. Did you hear my answer, or do you want me to repeat it?
Can you repeat in 5
Yes.
minutes because it says to me that I've lost my network connection. It's starting to reconnect.
Okay, no problem. I'm gonna repeat it again. So, as I was saying, it all depends on your needs. Okay. So okay, he's gonna come back in 5 minutes. Okay, in the meantime, does anybody else have any questions? I hope everything was clear today. I hope you enjoyed the session. Please, if you have any questions regarding the platform, regarding anything, the submissions, if you have any technical issues, please ask us right now, or you can ask me later on. This is my number.
I have one small question.
Yes, Hadi?
So you will send us on WhatsApp when you put us in groups.
So basically, yes, we're waiting for the people who have groups to tell us that they have groups, so we can like filter them out. Okay, so the people without groups and the people with groups. After all is done, we're gonna like join, like give you opportunities to choose who your teammates are. So don't worry about it.
Yes, okay.
Yes, Carl. Again, can you hear me, Carl? I think it's still connecting. In the meantime, does anybody have any questions? Hello, Carl. Can you hear me now?
It's a bit cutting, but I'll try my best to listen to you.
Okay, so again, I was telling you it all depends. It all depends on your needs. So let's say, for example, you want to start your venture in another country that requires you to learn how to speak French. So go ahead and learn how French. It all depends on your needs. And you don't have, as an entrepreneur, to know many
If
languages.
I'm working in China, for example, I have to learn Mandarin.
Exactly. You have to learn like the language of the area where you you are. Okay, where most of your work will be.
Thank you.
Let's say, for example, your initiative depends on to work with end users who only talk Spanish. You have to learn how to talk Spanish. Yes, Hadi?
Not only the language, but also the culture.
Okay.
That's very
Exactly.
important.
Thank you.
Exactly. Yes, Hadi?
Yes, I wanted to say, like, if the language is too hard, like Chinese or some other language, simply understanding the culture and how people think can be like the only useful thing if you're opening up a business.
Yeah. This is one
Exactly.
of the most important aspects. Exactly.
As Wasim said, English is mostly known now in the world. So basically, in China, you could use English, but if you have an understanding of the culture, you'll have an idea of how to promote what you are doing in a way that they would understand and that is not offensive sometimes. You should always take culture into consideration.
And always, if you don't know the language and not very familiar with the culture, bring a teammate who is familiar with the language and the culture. So China, I've been to China, guys. It's not easy to penetrate if you really are not an insider. So definitely, if you want to, for example, do something for the Chinese people, I think it's impossible not to have a teammate who is Chinese, who has, the ins and outs and knows the language, because unlike other countries, English does not mean anything in China. I've been there.
So we're opening up the floor for more questions. If you have any, please don't hesitate to ask. So, okay, on to the last. I want to, let's go to Menti again one more time. And this is like the last thing. I'm going to send you the code. If you're on Menti, if you're still on Menti, that's great. So please tell us, how was the session today? Like, by the way, as entrepreneurs later on, you're going to do this a lot. You're going to constantly keep on taking the feedback of your end users and customers. Because trust me, you're going to need it a lot to always improve. Even like big firms like Google, Facebook, all of them always like still take reviews from their customers, because it's very important. The minute you stop taking reviews, I promise you, you will fail. So always take reviews, always take feedback. Okay, more please. Fun, informative. It's great.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
And if you have any suggestions and you want to see anything specific for next time or in the future sessions, please go ahead and tell us. We would love to hear your feedback.
Thank you.
Most welcome. And thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you really benefit from this session.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.